Why did the Buddha ask Varable Dubode if the Buddha had cultivated and attained Buddha nature or not? The elder Dubode said that according to the spirit of the Diamond Sutra, the Buddha had not cultivated nor attained Buddha's nature. You have to understand that the Buddha nature is something that Prince Sakyamuni already had. No one can give you something that you already possessed. No one can give me my prajna wisdom. My Buddha knowledge wasn't obtained by cultivating. On the other hand, for example, academic knowledge can be obtained by learning from professors, so one can have a doctor, engineering, or pharmacy degree. The prajna wisdom, or the Buddha nature, is a self-attained wisdom and cannot be obtained from learning. It is always there inside me, so I don't need to practice Dharma in order to obtain Buddha's nature. Everyone has the same treasure as the Buddha, but we are not awake to see it. In the Lotus Sutra, a pauper didn't know his father was a very rich tycoon with enormous assets. Therefore, the pauper would not accept the fact that he also has precious treasures as well. The Buddha manifests as the rich tycoon to tell his son that he also has a precious treasure, which was his Buddha nature. The pauper wouldn't believe it, that the tycoon was very rich. But the Buddha had 32 great markings and 80 beauties and came from the royal lineage. So his poor son ran off and made a living by cleaning up feces. What is the meaning of cleaning up feces? We are also cleaning up feces because we do not understand the Diamond Sutra thoroughly. We would go to temples that teach us the practicing Buddhism to make more money. Making money is cleaning up feces, isn't it? They teach us how to get rich, how to be more attractive, and how to be reborn in heaven. In the Diamond Sutra, according to Buddha's point of view, these are cleaning up feces because they don't help us to part with misery that is forever within our present life. So the Buddha used enhancement to save the human beings. He knew our minds were cloudy, so he created thousands of ways to enhance them. If someone wants to be beautiful, then he teaches them to offer flowers to the Buddha. If someone wants to be rich, then he teaches to give alms to the poor. If someone wants to do well in school, then he teaches to help students. The Buddha taught these to entice the human race. Because the sentient beings are ill, so the Buddha manifested so that he can heal us. One day, they will be reborn in heaven, and they will realize that they still won't find ideal happiness in heaven. As you can see, a person who hasn't left Vietnam would dream about happiness overseas. Back in the 1980s, when I was still in Vietnam, life was very difficult. I thought about escaping Vietnam, and I would be happy at the refuge islands. Once I arrived at the island, I did not find happiness. Perhaps relocating to a Western country would bring me happiness. I reside in the United States and receive $300 a month from the USCC organization. I thought if I have a job to make $1,000 a month, then I would be happy. But once I made $1,000 a month, I was not happy either. Then I started to dream to make $100,000 and then $1 million. But it would be all the same. I will not be happy because I still attract to my self-egoness. If we make money to serve our personal greed, we will never find true happiness. Therefore, my sister, Buddha nun Nhu Thuy, composed a poem called Magical Lotus. If knowing the world was an illusion, then the heaven would also be a dream. With the spirit of the Diamond Sutra, whatever takes a form, it would be delusion. If we know the world is just an illusion, then heaven would also be a dream. We need to understand these two things. Whoever understands Diamond Sutra, then that person should be able to break all the wrong thoughts. Some of the Buddhist monks used blessed heavens to entice their disciples. They told their followers to practice offering alms to be reborn in heaven because divas have 1,000 wives, eating pearls and wearing diamonds. However, if the disciple already understood the Diamond Sutra, then he would laugh off, because if knowing the world was an illusion, then heaven would also be a dream. Other monks use the divas to entice the disciples to offer alms so they can be reborn in heaven and have wings to fly high. However, the magical power of Diamond Sutra will prove that you have happiness right here and now. All the human beings with greed, anger, and lust in this impure world can find happiness without waiting to be reborn in heaven to live with fairies and Buddhas. Whoever understood the Diamond Sutra, then their minds would be filled with joy, like a lotus growth from the tainted mud. We are practicing the personality of the never, despite Bodhisattva. We do not disrespect anyone if they are low class, even though they don't cultivate nor obtain any arhat level, but they all have Parshama wisdom and their Buddha nature. However, they haven't seen it yet until one day if they live closely with their Buddha's nature. The Buddha said, "Elder Salaifa, the Nirvana is only a mirage. Even though it offers no cycle of rebirth and death, it can't help you remain in your true mind. Only adhere to the arhat attachment." In the past, people taught impermanence and non-self. While living in this world, the arhat couldn't wait to enter Nirvana. In the old days, they accepted the existence of assets, of husbands, of fathers, of fame and wealth. Now entering the everlasting Nirvana, the arhat would see everything is non-existent. No form of self, form of others, form of sentient beings, and form of giving and receiving. The arhats were not truly practicing the middle way, or known as Madhyama. That was the reason the Buddha preached the wonderful Lotus Sutra, so they can understand and must accept the reality again. That is when they had not cultivated. Family and assets were real. After cultivating, family and assets were delusion. But that does not mean that they have to stay away from their assets, wife, children, and parents. However, after understanding Dharma, they still kiss their wives, love their children, and are not excited when gaining or sad when losing the money. That is the essence of the Diamond Sutra. So, by preaching Diamond Sutra, the Buddha taught all things that have forms are all delusional. The heavens are realms that form with substances, so we do not need to wait to be a diva. a monk who holds the Buddhist monk's precepts, a layman who holds the 10 goods and 5 precepts, which are not killing, stealing, and adultery. Don't speak with 2 tongues. Praise now and critique later. Don't think greed, anger, and ignorance. They will be reborn in the Trisamsa heaven realm. Because of holding these precepts without fully grasping the Diamond Sutra, when we die, we will reborn in heaven. What is the reward of being reborn in heaven? Marry beautiful wives. As you can see, it is miserable enough to have 1 wife. Imagine you having 1,000 wives. In heaven, you have 1,000 places, while the king of Indira heaven realms has 10,000 palaces. The lifespan in heaven is 1,000 years. Playing and enjoying, going on all day and night. You have to see this. If the humans on this earth have a lifespan of 1,000 years, who will want to become a monk? In heaven, all the palaces, food, and beverages are always available. Even with 1,000 wives, you soon will be bored. If you don't believe me, ask someone who married 2 wives to know the misery. So if you don't understand the Diamond Sutra, you will never find heaven in this world. Without understanding the Diamond Sutras, heaven will just be a dream. Those who understand the Diamond Sutra will not be enticed by these monks who use divas help to tell future events about things that are about to happen, or have someone offer a temple or $50,000 bill. Once you thoroughly grasp the essence of the Diamond Sutra, you will know that the world is a delusion. Heaven is just a dream. Therefore, even if divas come to entice, and they still have to fly away because it is impossible to break the diamond wisdom of the monk or layman who are learning the Diamond Sutra. And the miracle that will happen to us from the underground of this globe. A person who lives with self-ego adhere to the form of selfness, form of others, form of sentient beings, form of giving and accepting. Once understood the Diamond Sutra, he will be set free just like a miracle has happened. It happens right in this world, not in the Pure Land of Amitabha Buddha. Any wife who witnessed the transformation of her husband after understanding the Diamond Sutra will be very delighted. From an ordinary man, the husband transforms into a Bodhisattva. In the past, he made you wear a brown robe or blue robe to go to the temple, or use different cooking pots to make vegetarian meals on the fasting days. He now changes completely. He doesn't need to go to the temple to start practicing, because everywhere is the ashram. Why wouldn't we be delighted to see such a transformation? A mortal, mundane wife or husband turns into a compassionate person, like a pink lotus blossoming from the musky swamp. That is the award of understanding the Diamond Sutra. The Buddha wanted us to be able to rid the delusional mind and remain the true mind right in this lifetime. Even though everything has any kind of form is delusional, but that doesn't mean the Pure Land in heaven doesn't exist. Although it is a dream, we all want a pleasant dream, not a nightmare. Thus, if you obtain the view of the Diamond Sutra, you will end your suffering right in this lifetime, not waiting until reborn in the Pure Land realm. I am not criticizing the Pure Land. In fact, I am guiding my disciples to practice the Pure Land methods so that they can be reborn in that realm while having greed, anger, and ignorance karma. In the Pure Land, the Bodhisattva preaches Dharma every day and eventually uses the Diamond Sutra to preach so that no one will attach to the Pure Land realm. They all have the Bodhisattva vows to return to Samara and save other sentient beings. All the Pure Land patriarchs said that the Buddha told Elder Salai that in the western direction, 10,000 Buddha realms from here, there is a realm called Pure Land. Why is it called Pure Land? Because in this realm, the miseries does not exist. It is all happiness. The Amitabha Buddha is preaching Dharma in the Pure Land realm. The Buddha at the beginning said that this Samba world is filthy, and 10,000 Buddha realms from here is a realm called Pure Land. The Buddha used the Pure Land to teach for those disciples who love purity and hate filth. How do we distinguish between purity and filth? Because of our karma, feces is filthy, but the catfish sees the feces as their delicious meal. Because of our karma, we see the temple as a sharam, but the termite says that it is their meals. Because of our karma, we see the scriptures as a sutra, while the mice sees it as a lining for its nest. The monk sees the scriptures as the holy jewel of the Buddha, but the child sees it as an origami. The universe is the form of perception. If we live with the delusional mind, then we will suffer. But if we live with the true mind, then we will be at peace. A Buddhist follower heard the previous Dharma talk in English version. He then asked the Buddha broke the four forms, of which are the form of selfness, form of others, form of sentient beings, and the form of giving and receiving. Then why did the Buddha still distinguish the delusional mind and the true mind? It was also the question from Arhat to Buddha. The Buddha answered for the Arhat to Buddha because the Arhat separated the delusional mind and the true mind. You have to understand that the Buddha preached Diamond Sutra and claimed that he did not cultivate nor obtain the true mind, because the true mind is the ocean and the delusional mind is the waves. Where do the waves come from? On a windy day, the ocean is calm and still. The nature of the ocean and the waves are water. Analyzing the nature of the ocean and the waves, we will see their nature is water. Why did the Buddha say there was not attaining? For example, the Buddha lives with the true mind that is a calming ocean, while the human, animal, ghosts, asura, devas, the six paths of rebirth and deaths are living as the waves. Where do these waves come from? In Buddhism, they are called the eight winds. As we look at an individual still sitting, listening to Dharma talk or my live stream to find the way to live with the true mind, suddenly her husband rushes in and screams at her that they have won the lottery. At that moment, all the forms born from eggs, from the womb, from moisture, or spontaneously as devas or asuras will appear in her mind instantly. Because of the excitement, many waves start to rise in her mind. You can see the waves of gaining start first, because winning the lottery, her mind is no longer calm. Why does her mind remain calm? Oh my God, honey, we have to hide it from our son, daughter-in-law, daughters, son-in-law, because they will ask us for some money. We have to keep it low because if the news reporter knows, they will broadcast it on the news station, and many different non-profit organizations will ask for donation. We can see a winning of gaining blow through her mind while listening to Diamond Sutra. Then all other waves rose into a storm in her mind. Both husband and wives are confused. They don't know if they should ask the lawyers to help out. They worry that people might swamp their lottery tickets. They worry that people will know, and so on and so forth. Before she knew that she won the lottery, she held the 5 precepts and lived with her true mind and remained with her true mind. As soon as the wind of gaining blows her, her calm mind no longer exists. On the other hand, if King Sudahan told the Buddha, Prince Setthera, you won a lottery ticket, would the Buddha mind become disturbed? The answer is no. The Buddha left all the golden palace and throne behind, so he wouldn't get disturbed. We all have the wave of love, hatred, and happiness continuously beating in our minds, in our heads, once the wind of gain blows at our true mind. Therefore, the 6th Patriarch taught not to hold the love and hatred inside, but straighten your legs and sleep peacefully, then you can remain with your true mind. Holding love and grudge inside while reciting mantras, chanting scriptures, and Buddha's name won't give you any good according to the platform of the Diamond Sutra. The Buddha claimed that he did not cultivate nor obtain good because he no longer chased the wind. Therefore, he had no waves and he remained with his true mind. No one gave him his Buddha nature or gave it to other sentient beings. When the Buddha obtained his enlightenment, he saw that all sentient beings have Buddha's nature and the true mind, but they decided not to live with it. Instead, we are happy when the wind of gain blows, and we are sad when the wind of loss breezes through us. And we are pleased with the wind of fame. We are amused with the wind of praising, and we are miserable with the wind of criticizing. Gain, fame, praise, pleasure, loss, disgrace, blame, and suffering are all called the 8 winds. Anyone still remains calm when the 8 winds blows, then he is Patriarch, Bodhisattva, or a Buddha. But if waves forms in his mind, then he is still a mundane human being. As you can see, the calm wind or calm ocean is a water, whether we lean to heaven or the Pure Land. Actually, let's say our mind is the eyes and other things in the world are grains of dirt. Whether that grain of dirt came from mud or gold, if it gets in our eyes will be irritated and make our vision become distorted. Normally, our vision with the eyes without the dirt are already distorted. Now that the grain of dirt irritates the eyes, how can we possibly see the truth? If it doesn't matter if the grain of dirt is made of mud, feces, gold, or diamond, once it gets into our eyes, we will no longer see the truth. Whoever studies Diamond Sutra must grasp this concept. Now back to the question that the Buddha had not saved all sentient beings that were born by womb, by egg, in moisture, or spontaneously. He had not saved all the Indian people and his relatives, yet he asked Bodhisattva to do that. Why did he do that? Because there are two different ways to save so that they could rid their delusional mind, or to retrain, or to retain their true mind. Whoever were predestined with him would be saved to remain in their true mind and rid their delusional mind. Then they will be free of misery. Those who are not, the Buddha saved them in different ways. If they like materials, he taught them how to reborn in heaven. If they like places higher than heaven, then he taught them about the Pure Land realm. Whatever they liked, he would have a specific way to teach them. In the end, just like Diamond Sutra described, all were because Buddha manifests to save sentient beings. Like the rich tycoon had his son clean up feces because his son liked to do so. We are also like his son, like to clean up feces. That is like to have a lot of money. Preaching Diamond Sutra is very dry. Unlike other masters teaching how to make more money. For example, a master shows his disciples, who is a nail salon owner, a mantra to recite during the coronavirus pandemic. Once you recite the mantra, the virus will disappear and the money will flow in like water. You immediately learn the mantra to have money to pay for lease, your employees, and to be rich. But that is all misery. When the first Patriarch, Dharma, preached the Mahayana Zen Buddhism in China, but no one could understand. So the first Patriarch turned his face to the wall of Shaolin Temple for 9 years. Wei Ka was a novice monk who wanted to learn the supreme Dharma from the first Patriarch. Patriarch Dharma said that the supreme Buddha Dharma was very precious. Not everyone was qualified to learn it. If Wei Ka wanted to learn, he had to prove that he was sincere. At the time it was snowing at the Shaolin Temple, Wei Ka knelt in the courtyard all night. When the morning came, some of the monk helper informed Patriarch Dharma that novice monk had knelted all night long. If first Patriarch did not teach him the Dharma, he would die from hypothermia. The first Patriarch walked to to Wei Ka and asked, "What do you want to know?" The novice monk Wei Ka answered this: "My mind is not at peace. I am so miserable. Please put my mind at peace. I heard that you have a way to make the mind at peace." At that time, the courtyard was covered with white snow. First Patriarch said this: "If you can make the white snow turn red, then I will teach you how to make your mind at peace." As you all know, Shaolin Temple was a cradle of Kung Fu. Some of the monks practiced Kung Fu and left their sword nearby. Novice monk Wei Ka took a sword and cut off his left arm. The blood from his wound merged with the white snow. He then told the first Patriarch, "I turned white snow to red. Please teach me how to make my mind at peace." The first Patriarch asked Wei Ka to come inside and show him the mind of weariness. Fear, love, and hatred, right and wrong, so he can make them at peace. The novice monk tried to find these minds, but at the end he said, "I can't find these minds." At that moment, he said that he couldn't find these minds from anywhere. That meant they are delusional and not real. The way to make your mind at peace is to know that you can't find the mind of love and hatred, fear, greed, lust, praise, and criticism. As soon as you realize that they can't be found, you already rid your delusional mind and had retained your true mind. The first Patriarch told Wei Ka, "I already made your mind at peace." From that day on, Wei Ka followed the first Patriarch. One day, Sir Wei Ka told the first Patriarch that he was no longer interfered by the minds of love and hatred, praise and criticism, right and wrong. He felt very happy and peaceful. The first Patriarch said that he worried that Sir Wei Ka would be attached to the emptiness. Sir Wei Ka said, "Master, if I really know, then how can I be attached to the emptiness?" As we remember, Sir Wei Ka came to learn the supreme Dharma from the first Patriarch because the minds of love and hatred made him miserable. He did not know how to rid his delusional mind. Once he cut off his arm to prove his sincerity to learn Dharma. The first Patriarch told him to show the mind of love and hatred, worry, praise, and criticism, all the minds that made him miserable. Sir Wei Ka couldn't find these minds because they were real, because they were predestined. The greedy mind appeared because we like money. We were miserable from the lusty mind because facing the beauty. We are sad because we like to be praised but hate to be criticized. If we can control the six senses, then we can retain our true mind. We are still suffering because we still live with our love and hatred minds. You will remain your true mind when you have total control of the six senses. The first Patriarch worried Sir Wei Ka would be attracted to the emptiness. That is the emptiness of the Arhat. That is, there are no forms of sentient beings, form of others, form of giving and accepting, form of selfness. Without these forms, we all forget about the benefits of sentient beings. Therefore, the sixth Patriarch said clearly, that we should not hold love or hatred minds. That is the spirit of the Diamond Sutra. Once we know about the Diamond Sutra, we have to know that the wife is still a wife, the husband is still the husband, and money is still money. This section of Diamond Sutra is at a higher level. I don't want to preach about it yet, but I will mention it a little bit. That is, the Buddha said whether sentient being existed or not. This section of the Diamond Sutra goes like this. Venerable Dubodhe asked the Buddha, Buddha said there is no form of selfness, form of others, form of sentient beings, and forms of giving and accepting. Are there sentient beings? The Buddha answered, so difficult for us to understand. He said, sentient beings that are not sentient beings are called sentient beings. And then Venerable Dubodhe asked if the universe existed or not, if the human world existed or not, the heavenly world existed or not, the Pure Land realm existed or not. The Buddha answered, the universe is not. The universe is called the universe. The two answers are so confusing and meaningless. They contradict themselves. The first answer was, sentient beings that are not sentient beings are called sentient beings. We must understand that the devas, the human beings, the asuras, the devils, the species born by the womb, by the egg, the species born in moisture, and born spontaneously. These four species comes from our mind. Because the minds interact with the six physical senses to create the wave of love and hatred, and we then attract to our parents as a fetus to create the universe. Therefore, the Buddha said, sentient beings that are not sentient beings are called sentient beings. It's very clear. We have parents, but do not have parents. But that is not correct. Where do our parents come from? They come from predestined circumstances. But where was the predestined relationship from? There is Master Thong Lai. If we say there is no Master Thong Lai, then that is not correct, because Master Thong Lai, he is not real. Prior to my mother's labor, that was me, there was no me, and there is no Master Thong Lai. Before I can find my true mind and obtain any arhat level to enter the everlasting Nirvana, at death, this attained spirit was still fused with the energy of greed, hatred, and lust, searching in Samara to find my parents. Once my spirit entered my mother's womb and Thong Lai was born. The name Thong Lai was not given by my parents. It was given by Venerable Thuy Thong. Where was the bhiksu position from? From nothing, isn't that right? Then where was the master's title from? Because practicing Buddhism for a long time, so I can sit in a better place at dinner, and so that they or you can call me master. Where was the Venerable title from? It was just a title. If someone asked me if there was Master Thong Lai or not, Master Thong Lai is not Master Thong Lai, but is temporarily called Master Thong Lai. That is how you understand the Diamond Sutra. If we said there is no Master Thong Lai, that is not correct. Master Thong Lai is not Master Thong Lai, but because of the predestined relationship of my parents, therefore, temporarily, I am called Master Thong Lai. The first Buddhist disciple who obtained Arhat level was Venerable Akbe. He preached Dharma to help Elder Salaifak. Elder Salaifak asked Venerable Akbe what he learned from the Buddha that transformed him into such a delightful person. He had not seen any Dharma monks that had a delightful mind such as Venerable Akbe. Venerable Akbe said that he was one of the 5 Kuei Tangu's brother, learned from the Buddha that all Dharma arises from conditions, and Dharma ended from conditions. Venerable Akbe understood these things created because of predestined conditions. Once the conditions no longer exist, so were all things. Therefore, he was no longer suffering. In the past, when he heard the news that his father died, he was very miserable. But after he knew his father was not his father, who temporarily was called his father, he realized that birth will lead to death, and meeting leads to departing. He understood that he had his parents today, but one day he would be an orphan. When he did not understand the causation theory, he was suffering for 3 years. Once the Buddha taught him the causation theory, that is all things arise from conditions, and all things ends from condition, he was no longer miserable. However, he still respected and repaid his parents. Otherwise, he would be unfilial.